Tony here with Suburban Camouflage Channel. Before I start this video, I wanted to let everyone know this is actually a video that was inspired by a video that Dave Canterbury, the Pathfinder School, put out not too long ago in his Yurt series. I've added a few little steps here and there, a few little tricks I've learned in my profession, and I've also made it a little bit more keyed toward the prepper, survivalist, suburban, obviously, and mid to small town setting. So if you'll stay tuned, we'll be making some cheese. Alright, to make cheese, there's really only three things you absolutely need. You need milk, and the higher fat content in the milk, the better, especially if it's non-homogenized, which I'll get into a little bit later. Other thing you'll need is a heat source. You want to bring the milk up to right around 200 to maybe 205 degrees Fahrenheit, and you need a form of acid. The acid is actually what causes the chemical reaction that breaks apart the milk solids, called the curd, from the whey, which is the rest of the moisture, and it's the byproduct of making cheese. How I'm turning this into more of a prepper / survivalist endeavor is I'm actually using evaporated milk. Evaporated milk is ultra pasteurized and homogenized. The shelf life on these, the manufacturer suggested shelf life on these is about a year. The higher fat content, the longer the shelf life. So these, I believe, these cans don't expire till December 2012. And I know for a fact they've been around for about 6 months. So yeah, these are about 18 months of manufacturer suggested expiration date. Though these will be biologically safe to eat for basically as long as the can hasn't been compromised. The can's intact, there are no cracks, none of the seals are compromised. These will be biologically safe to consume. After a while, any canned product will start to take on some of the color and flavor of the metal, so it'll darken, kind of caramelize, it'll become sweeter as some chemical reactions take place inside the can. For the acid, I'm using just a white distilled vinegar, though in the cheese I'm making I'm actually adding a little touch of lime juice for flavor. I'm also using some kosher salt. Without salt, it is really bland and isn't all that appetizing. My little setup here, saucepan on top of my stove, and a candy thermometer, or a fry thermometer, depending on whom you ask, just to be able to get my temperature and keep an eye on the temperature to make sure that I don't reach a boil. I'm not heating too fast because you don't want to scorch it and you don't want it to boil. You just want it to come up slowly to 200 degrees. So I'm going to get that set up for you. And I put the 2 cans of evaporated milk into the saucepan, and for each can of evaporated milk, I've added 1 can worth of water. It says right here, evaporated milk is a liquid concentrate of whole milk. The milk product obtained by adding 1 part water to 1 part evaporated milk will not be below the legal standard for milk. I don't know exactly if that's comforting or not, the whole legal standard for milk phrasing, but it's got a long shelf life. And I've actually done this whole process before, so it's actually fairly edible. I'm also whisking in about a tablespoon of salt right now. Get it nice and mixed in. Have it heating at medium-low, a little bit more towards medium. We're sitting just a little under 100 degrees right now, so you want to keep it moving. You don't want the fats on the bottom of the pan to scorch and start to stick. That'll add a really unpleasant burnt flavor to your final cheese product. Set that down. I'm going to show you what we have set up on the other side of the kitchen here. Slow pan and beer. In the sink here, I have just a standard colander filled with cheesecloth. Cheesecloth is a gauze-like material, which I think if you had long enough strips of gauze, that would work as well. See how well you can see it here. Basically, you want the cheesecloth to catch the curd while allowing the whey to go down the sink. It's not something you need. Unless you're making American cheese, because American cheese is actually made from whey, making it not cheese at all. This will be coming later in the process, so pan back over to the beer. Now going over back to the stove. Keep an eye on the temperature, and as we get a little bit closer, I'll bring it back in. And talk about some of the equipment I'm using. Probably not a lot of which is really standard for most home kitchens. Like I said, I'm a professional chef. I have quite a bit of equipment laying around from my years and in the business, but candy thermometer and the cheesecloth are going to be the two big things that won't be in every household. If you have, let's see if I can, thermometer for temperature meat, like one of these, like I have on my EDC bag, this will definitely work. It goes up to 220 degrees, so this will definitely work for temping the milk. A mouth, like a oral thermometer for taking your personal temperature, will not work. You're not supposed to use that for food service. Most of those still contain mercury. Not good for you. If you don't have any temperature measuring system available, you can go by look, and I'll go into that as we get closer to the temperature. What you'll be looking for is little wisps of steam to be coming from the edges, maybe a few bubbles forming around the edge of the pan. Should definitely be hot to the touch, but it should not come to a simmer, which is the small bubbles rising across the entire surface, and definitely shouldn't come to a boil. The cheesecloth, on the other hand, I actually just went out and bought this cheesecloth. The package cost me under $2. Cheesecloth is the best, obviously. It's designed specifically for cheese. Can be used for other purposes if you have it lying around, like gauze, whatnot. And you can, like I said before, you can use gauze for this if you have full sheets of gauze. But I've used many other materials for making cheese. I've used an old thin cotton t-shirt will work. Bandanas will work. Actually, today at work, when I was testing this, my little cheese theory out with the evaporated milk, I did that today at work. Getting paid to experiment, yay! When I did that today, I didn't have any cheesecloth handy, so I used just a cloth napkin, which I wouldn't recommend. The weave on that is much too tight. I didn't get a really hard-packed cheese. It was more of a cheese spread. Somewhere in between a brie and maybe ricotta consistency. Maybe even leaning towards a little bit of a cream cheese feel. It was very rich. I've used a little bit of lemon or lime juice in that today as well, and it was tangy, rich. Would work really well with like a salty cracker, salty chip. I actually had people eating tortilla chips with the cheese I made today at work. So, and my boss, the executive chef, took the cheese home. He's putting it on fajitas tonight. All right, let's see where we're at. We're at about 120 degrees, so I'm going to cut for a minute and get back when we're a little bit closer. All right, we've hit the temperature that we're looking for, the 200 degrees. As you can see here, got the telltale signs that I was talking about. Got the steady stream of steam coming off and starting to form bubbles along the edges. No simmering, no boiling yet, which is good. So what I'm going to do is add some of the acid in and whisk as I'm adding that. Definitely getting separation in the curd. Let's see if I can get over that. Alright. Definitely going to kill the heat now, and the white and the cream colored part will be the curd, and as it separates, the whey is the clear, watery looking part. So I'm going to go ahead and pan around and get ready. Try not to make it. Oh, there's my dinner. Alright, I'm over here at the sink and I have my cheesecloth laid out and I have some ice water here. So I'm going to go ahead and dump my cheese mix into the cheesecloth. You can see the curd all separated out there. It's actually forming a nice little curd. Alright, basically you just want to get rid of the whey. Unless you're making cottage cheese. Just cottage cheeses. Curds and whey. So just bundle it up. And drain it. Ooh, spring leak. Alright, right now, come back. It's cooler to the touch. Still hot. But I'm running it under some cold water, and I'm squeezing the whey out. A little bit of curd coming through, but that's okay. Kind of got a little leak. Cut that back under there. And the more whey you squeeze out of this, the firmer your cheese is going to be. So, catch back when I get this a little bit closer. Alright, getting back. And you can see the curd forming around here. It's kind of squeezed out. That is farmer's cheese. Go ahead. You can see me eating it. Edible. Rich. Not as tangy as the one I made earlier today. I don't think I added as much white vinegar. So, here is the bundle of cheese. Still steaming hot. I've got most of the whey worked out. So what I'm going to do is I have my colander inside the bowl here. And I'm going to put a weight on top. A smaller bowl with a nice divot. I'm just going to press. Starting to get more whey. Press. I got a little disket of cheese there. Now what I'm going to want to do, put this in here. I'm going to put this weight on it, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and let it cool. The constant weight, which I'll probably actually put a little bit of water in there to give it some bulk. And run cold water. Be better. Help cool it from both directions. And once it's finished cooling, I will show you the finished product. Alright, I've been working the cheese out of the cheesecloth here. Still quite a bit left in here, but I wanted to show the final product. It's kind of crumbly right now, but I'm going to take this, put it into some plastic wrap, form it, squeeze it down tight, and have a little cheese log. So here's the final product. And here we have the final product, wrapped in plastic, kind of a little cheese log. It is still pretty soft. I didn't squeeze it out for a really long time, so it's more of a spreadable cheese. Thank you for watching. This is Tony coming from the Suburban Camouflage Channel.